Astryx design system relies on Meta's StyleX library for styling. It all comes pre-compiled, so you don't actually have to do anything. But once you go look at StyleX and say, cool, I want to start, doing some custom styles and all sorts of stuff and use this StyleX thing, you're going to run into a bunch of problems. So that's what we're going to cover here. It's a little work you got to put in up front, but it's not that bad. What we're going to do to avoid a bunch of errors is we are going to install the StyleX JS Babel plugin and the postcss plugin, as well as auto prefixer. Now, once that's set up, we are going to jump over to our app. In our root directory, we're going to create a new file, babel.config.js. We're also going to create a new file, postcss.config.js. For a Babel config, I'm going to drop this in here. Don't worry about it. I'm going to have links to all this code for you. There's nothing super interesting about this. This is just standard Babel config stuff. I don't really see anything special in here. You just need to have this in place. I should point out this is very specific to Next.js 16. I think you run into the same types of problems with Vite and other frameworks. So if you're working with one of those, you'll just have to figure it out. But for Next.js 16, this is what you want to do. And then on our postcss, very similar, we're going to bring in that Babel config, and we're running this plugin, this StyleX JS postcss plugin, and just making sure it's got access to all the files we're using. And that's pretty much it. Now we're looking good. And then we're going to come over here to our global CSS. And right down here, after those imports, we're going to drop in the StyleX import. And that's all we need to do there. For good measure, I'm going to remove my local Next cache. And I'm going to restart my server. And everything seems to be working fine. Here in our source app, I'm going to create a new TypeScript file called styles.ts. Into that, I'm going to import StyleX. And this is the way we create custom styles in StyleX. So I'm going to be exporting something called styles, and then it's styleX.create. And then we basically just drop in JavaScriptified CSS objects. So for example, we're going to have a boards column, and you can see, overflow X becomes capital X, the what do they call that? Pascal casing? I can't remember. Overflow Y, height, all of that. You do get access to any of the variables available in the imports we already have in our global CSS. So I'm going to drop a bunch of these in here. We'll take a look at a couple of them, but there's nothing really super interesting here. This column width, I forgot about that. Going to drop this column width right here. And that one's kind of tricky because previously I tried this where I was importing it from another version of this application, and that didn't work. Just so you know, like all of this has to be pre-compiled. So you can't do a lot of dynamic stuff here. We are going to talk about dynamic styling actually. But in this case, I just want to point out that column width is here in this file. And it kind of needs to be that way because this is going to get compiled before runtime or at runtime. Either way, you can't do a lot of like importing from other files and things of that nature here. So column width is right here in the file. The only other thing I'd point out is I do have some like media prefers, which is going to work well with our preferences that we set up. So we've got that use preferences hook that we created earlier. So system preferences versus light versus dark. I do have some elements in here to handle that. You can see me jumping into tokens that are available to us from the library. So there's our style TS. Actually, it's going to be styles TS. We're going to jump over to our Kanban. We're going to be bringing in VStack, and we're going to bring in our styles. Coming down here to our content section, I'm going to update this to a padding of 0. I just know that it's going to end up looking better. This will also be a padding of 0. And then here, instead of flex shrink, we're going to say styles dot column. column shell. So I'm just pulling the style directly from the styles TypeScript file that we just created. And then this section, I'm more or less just wrapping in a VStack. Format that. You can see here, card padding, I'm actually using XStyle, which we will talk more about. We've got our standard heading and all that good stuff. If we jump over to our application, it's kind of starting to take shape. Now you can see I got a little hover effect here. And everything's kind of starting to come together. So this XStyle thing, every component in Astryx accepts an XStyle property. And what that does is it allows you to customize the component without breaking the encapsulation they already created. So it allows us to like bleed into their system without jacking it all up. I don't know. It's pretty cool. And we will be using that further as we move along. But that is the process by which you can integrate StyleX into your Next.js 16 application.